you all. Please be seated. Good morning. My name is Bill Anisevich, and I would like to thank you and welcome you all to our program today. Today marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the largest terrorist attack in U.S. history. On that Tuesday, 20 years ago, 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 American commercial flights destined for the West Coast and intentionally took the lives of thousands of innocent civilians. 2 planes, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, departed Boston, and Flight 11 struck New York City's World Trade Center, the North Tower, at 8:46. Flight 175 struck the South Tower at 9:03. Leading to the collapse of both towers. A third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, leaving from Dulles International Airport in Virginia, crashed into the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m. And the final plane, United Airlines Flight 93, departing from Newark, New Jersey, crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:03. After passengers stormed the cockpit and tried to overtake the terrorists who had hijacked the plane. Today, throughout the program, you will hear the ringing of a bell, which signifies the times that the plane struck each tower. In a span of less than 90 minutes that summer morning 20 years ago, our world changed. Nearly 3,000 people were killed that day, and the United States found itself involved in the longest war in its history. The events that occurred on 9/11 are permanently etched in our minds, and all of us today are here to pay respects and show thanks for our fire, police, and military personnel who put their lives on the line day in and day out. Throughout this program, you will also hear stories about certain individuals who performed heroic actions and who did something to help someone in need. And you will also hear stories about where we were or what we were doing when the news broke that the United States was under attack. What I remember most is how the country came together to help one another and how so many people went out of their way to show their respect and to help each other and the loved ones who were in need. This past couple of weeks, there was a certain individual in Elmhurst, Nicholas Delgado, a Boy Scout in the Eagle Scout program, who took it upon himself to clean up the memorial on Spring Road. For those of you that don't know, there is a beautiful memorial dedicated to all those who lost their lives on Spring Road and the Prairie Path. We've held this ceremony there in the past. If you have not taken the time to see it, Nicholas did a great job cleaning it up and making it presentable for everyone today. He did this to show his love and respect for the community. There are hundreds of stories and actions that we can talk about all day, things that happened over the months after the attacks occurred. I am humbled that all of you are here today to share in this special occasion. As we begin our program, I just want to say thank you to all the elected officials who came out today to take time out of their day to join in our ceremony. I see Alderman Veremis, Alderman Molnar, Brian Cahill, Alderman Bastido, Alderman Cahill, Mayor Levin, City Manager Jim Gabrowski, Clerk Jackie Tamer, we really appreciate your support. This program would not be possible without the help and sacrifice of many people on the department here today. So again, thank you to Mayor Levin for being here, the City Council, Administrative Assistant Lauren Wolf, Jerry Christofferson, who donated the flags for us and all the signs for today, Shelly Myers, Andrea White, Colin Dewan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, from Elmhurst Hospital, for being part of our, putting the programs together and being part of our program here today, and all the police and fire retirees that also took time out of their day to join us. We will now get on with our program. And I would like to call Reverend Curtis Baxter to the podium to give an invocation.
Let us pray. Creator of all life, we turn to you for peace and security as we recall the 20th anniversary of 9/11. We thank you for the bravery and the sacrifice of those who saved lives as firefighters, rescue crews, and people aboard United 93. Comfort and strengthen the families and friends of those who died. Give healing and patience to the survivors of the attack who are living with continued physical or psychological pain. May those who survived feel gratitude and not guilt. Assure each person whose life changed forever of your protection and strength. Dispel the nightmares. Silence the anxieties. May we learn to depend on the security you offer. We give thanks for the end of a war provoked by the attacks of 9/11. May our suffering from these attacks awaken us an awareness of the pain and fear that so many around the world live with each day. Heal the wounded of these attacks and help their families and friends to rest in your security. Guide the choices of world leaders. Give them wisdom and discernment, not only as they work to resolve the lasting effects of 9/11 attacks, but also as they try to alleviate terror of all sorts, from genocide to hunger, from drought to bombings. May their actions bring a full measure of your peace to all people throughout the world. As we remember 9/11, may it remind us that you are our only true security. Give us your strength to face the memory of these attacks and the challenges it made in our lives. Give us compassion to help each other and to recognize need around the world. Give us your hope as we face the future. We pray these things in the name of the Creator of all life. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium Representative Deanne Mizaki.
Good morning, everyone. I'm State Representative Deanne Mizaki. We're here today to stand for the thousands murdered or injured on September 11th because they were American. For many, September 11th was a shock. Sadly, it continued decades of murders and attacks. 1983, the Marine barracks in Beirut. 1993, the first World Trade Center truck bomb. 1996, the Air Force Khobar Towers housing complex. 1998, timed truck bombs at U.S. embassies in Nairobi, Kenya, and Dar es Salaam. 2000, the USS Cole at port in Yemen. It continued later on September 11th as well, 10 years later in Benghazi in 2012. Our enemies haven't changed their minds or their tactics. They use asymmetric warfare and weaponize myth, story, and narrative to try to demoralize us, humiliate us on their path to power. On September 11th, they attacked stealing airplanes forged by American ingenuity to target American symbols of trade, military might, and success. This year, they knew that our president wanted a sunny, all is well narrative to tout as a foreign policy success. They exploited our feckless leadership to seize a country, 80 billion plus of our military equipment, and they now hold Americans hostage. Yes, they manipulate our weak and decadent chattering class, but the good in America and in the boots on the ground in our military is more realistic and resilient than that. America exists because our founders would not submit to the barbaric or unjust. America works because our people are better than our political class. And America is protected in our hometowns by our first responders, because our first responders cannot afford to deny reality. They know exactly what honor and loyalty mean, and they do not surrender their sacred duty to leave those in desperate need behind. September 11th reminds us about the very best in our emergency responders and the sacrifice they've made for our fellow Americans. One example is Rodney Gillis, New York PD Emergency Services Unit 8. He had just finished his shift. He could have gone home, but instead he joined his team to rescue others from the South Tower, and he died inside when it collapsed. Kevin Dowdle, New York Fire Department Rescue Unit 4, had previously pulled survivors out of the Oklahoma City bombing site. He perished doing the same at the World Trade Center. Our own citizens became first responders of another kind. They fought back on United Flight 93 and won, denying our attackers their targets. Each and every one of these men and women's sacrifices on that day saved over 25,000 lives of their fellow citizens. So on this day, I hope that you remember that. Honor American courage and sacrifice. Keep that day in your heart so that you can always in your mind resolve to fight for America. Pray for those who guard the living, and pray for our nation so that truth, justice, and a strong and good America can forever be found in this world. Thank you and God bless.
Moment of silence, please, for the first plane striking the tower. We now have a musical piece from the Celebration Bass Quartet. Please rise. Please be seated. At this time, I would like to welcome the Honorable Mayor, Scott Levin, to the podium. Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning, fellow residents. I thank you for coming out today. I'm proud to be the mayor of a community that takes the time to commemorate those who lost their lives 20 years ago. There are many major historical events that define a lifetime or a generation: the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger, All of these are indelibly etched in the minds of anyone who was alive and over 5 years old at the time. You know where you were when that happened. You know who you were with, what you were doing, what you were thinking. And 9/11 was that kind of event for anyone who was of age in 20 years ago. It's personal to each of us, but all of us have stories that are likely similar. I was at the Elmhurst train station with a lot of my neighbors, and we saw the rerun of the video of the first tower being hit, and we watched in horror as the second plane hit the second tower. There was a kind of collective shock. We all returned not to go downtown, but to our families, wondering what was going to happen next. And I'm sure I'm describing a fairly common experience for most of you that day. We suffered that day as a community, and today we remember that day as a community as well. The result of that terrorist attack was almost 3,000 people killed, 2,750 in New York alone, 184 at the Pentagon, and 40 in Pennsylvania. Remarkably, none of those who lost their lives were soldiers. Unlike Memorial Day, for the most part, we are not honoring those who put themselves in harm's way, who were called to serve to defend our country. About 90% of those who were killed were people just going about their lives, mostly at work, but that's probably what made it so shocking. I remember seeing people downtown Chicago in the days afterwards as they were walking, commuting to work again. They were looking up at the top of the buildings, and I think I knew what was going through their minds. It could have happened here. It could have been in our community. It's that close. It was the deadliest attack that ever occurred on American soil. There were 2,400 people who lost their lives in Pearl Harbor, which was equally shocking, but this one unfolded live on TV and is in part of our memory that we will never forget. There were some that were true heroes on that day, the police officers and firefighters who rushed into the World Trade Center knowing full well of the very real danger they faced. More than 400 police officers and firefighters perished that day. Many others were sickened by the fumes or even damaged psychologically by what they saw that day. There were the passengers on Flight 93 who, during the seizure of the plane, were calling their own families and learning what was happening on the ground, and they made the collective decision to do something about it, to take action to protect us below. And who could forget the quote of Todd Beamer, one of the passengers, where he said, "Are you ready? Okay, let's roll." And that's what sacrifice is all about. We commemorate all of those heroes today, as well as remembering those who perished. We are thankful also for our own first responders, our police and firefighters, who are of the highest quality in the country. We are here today in honor all 2,977 who lost their lives that day. We extend our condolences to the families and friends of those who lost lives, and that includes sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, children. 20 years have gone by, but we will never forget. May God bless our community and our nation. Thank you.
At this time, I would like Sergeant Matt Hippelman from the Elmhurst Police Department to come to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. I see many familiar faces out there today, but for those of you who don't know me, I've been an Elmhurst police officer for the past 21 years. And I want to take a few minutes today to share my experiences from the perspective of being a police officer who was working on 9/11. And I also have somewhat of a unique perspective because in addition to being a police officer, I was also a member of the Illinois Army National Guard at the time. I'm going to share my story with you today because it's important that as a community, we remember what happened on 9/11. It's important that we honor our fellow Americans that were killed that day. And it's also important for our children to know how we responded to those attacks and the sacrifices that have been made since then so that we can continue to live in peace. Peace doesn't come easy, though. And I'm proud to say that I'm a third-generation U.S. Army soldier. My grandfather was in World War II and my father was in Vietnam. My grandfather was actually drafted into the Army in April of 1941. He was supposed to be on active duty for 1 year. On December 7th, 1941, the Japanese Empire attacked Pearl Harbor, and on that day, he knew what his war was going to be. As a kid growing up, I always knew I would fight for my country. I just never knew when or where that fight would be. On September 11th, I knew. The week of September 11th, I was working afternoon shift, which is 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. I was asleep when the World Trade Towers were hit. My dad called me, told me the U.S. was under attack. We all remember where we were when we heard that news, but we all reacted differently. Many people tried to contact loved ones, make sure their family was okay. But as a single 22-year-old soldier, I can tell you the first thing I did after seeing those images on TV and seeing our people murdered was pack. I packed my 2 duffel bags and waited for the phone to ring. 9/11 was my Pearl Harbor, a surprise attack on American soil. And I knew that as Americans we would track down those terrorists and destroy them. The phone didn't ring though, at least not yet. So I went to work. I walked into roll call and you could feel the tension in the air. I was assigned to our Echo 1 beat, which is on the north side of town. We were told to watch for suspicious activity, stay visible, watch out for vigilante justice. As a soldier, I wanted to take the fight to the enemy. But in reality, we weren't sure if the enemy was done taking the fight to us. As our brothers and sisters in New York found out, the police were on the front line of this new battlefield. I had a .45 pistol and a 12-gauge shotgun. And in hindsight, that wasn't a lot of firepower. But that's what we had. But there was a difference now. We were ready, and we would fight. Time went on, though, and the additional attacks that we were expecting never came. After 9/11, I think the criminals even felt a little patriotic because we had very few crimes. Eventually, though, things began to return to normal. Air traffic resumed, and the bad guys started breaking the law again. In my personal life, I met a very pretty girl in 2002. We dated for 3 months. We got engaged 3 months after that. 3 months after that, we got married. And 3 months after getting married, my phone rang. It had been 512 days since the towers fell. The United States was mobilizing forces to expand the global war on terrorism. And my outfit, the 233rd Military Police Company, was part of that force. For the next 15 months, we did our part to restore order to Baghdad and rebuild the Iraqi police force. It was a hard time for every soldier and for every soldier's family. But in hard times, we help each other. And the Elmhurst community did that for me. My Army pay was less than what I made as a police officer. And while I was in active duty, the city paid the balance of my salary, so I didn't have to take a pay cut. The support I received from this community was amazing. And I'll always be grateful for the true patriots that live and work in this city. As we reflect on 9/11, I think it's important that we remember freedom has a cost. We all pay a price for freedom, but we don't all pay the same amount. By the grace of God, my personal cost during the war and up until today has been small. For many others, like the 13 service members who were killed in Afghanistan just over 2 weeks ago, the price was incredibly high. They and their families paid the ultimate price so that we can live in peace. This is the first 9/11 memorial ceremony where we don't have U.S. troops in Afghanistan. The Taliban are in control of the country, and only God knows what will happen in the future, both in Afghanistan and here at home. Although I don't know what will happen in the future, I do know this. I know that you have police officers, firefighters, paramedics, soldiers, sailors, Marines, veterans, and fellow citizens that will fight any fight, bear any burden, and pay any cost so that we can continue to live free. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a huge friend of the Elmhurst Fire Department. He's helped us out on many occasions, training our honor guard, teaching us how to march properly, putting programs together like this today, giving us the resources, the flags, the instruments to play at our programs. Not only is a close friend of the fire department, he's a president and CEO of Champion Container. He has an MBA from Lewis University, a business degree from Roosevelt University, member of the Rotary Club, the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce, and commander of the American Legion Post. At this time, I'd like to welcome Bill Shanklin to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. As I'm going to probably repeat a couple things that have already been said, but if I go off script, you ain't going to like what I got to say and what's in my heart, so I better stay on script. It has been 20 years since a terrorist group calling themselves Al-Qaeda, those operatives carried out one of the deadliest terror attacks in our history, killing 3,000 people or more and injuring thousands of others. This attack changed the world forever, and it also changed our way of life. This attack led to bloody conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq, and many other countries that we're still in conflict today. For 20 years, we have been looking for, finding, and eliminating those involved in planning and executing the attack. Some things we did right, some things we did wrong. One thing I remember, and I really felt good about it after that attack, was seeing our national political leaders standing shoulder to shoulder on the Capitol steps. I kind of felt that, my goodness, we will be united as we go to war on terrorism. And I felt pretty good about that. I felt we were committed to bringing to justice those who plot the murders of innocent civilians throughout the world. Unfortunately, in my opinion, that togetherness did not last long as I had hoped it would because of the division, distrust, and other things that our war on terrorism created at home. We must remember the valor of our first responders, police officers, firefighters, that they displayed on 9/11 to save lives at the cost of theirs. We also remember the courage of our armed forces as they engaged the enemy on the battlefields in Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, Syria, and other countries that we all don't know about, but they've virtually been fighting terrorists over the globe. As a nation, we must be united and committed to respecting, supporting, and protecting our first responders. We must not allow terrorist acts to damage the foundation of our heritage and the principles that guided us in creating the strongest and freest nation in the world. Freedom as we know it is worth protecting and will have to be protected in the future by our men and women ready, willing, and able to defeat anyone that wants to destroy us internally and externally. Pray for our first responders and armed forces that protect us. And thank God we have people that will accept the challenge, stand in the door to serve our country with honor, courage, and commitment. We will always remember is the motto of our community, and we have remembered what happened on 9/11 and many things that have happened since. I am under no illusion this war is over. If you were born on the day called 9/11, you're 20 years old today. We have a responsibility to the generation born on this day to know why and how this attack occurred, benefit from our mistakes, and help them understand the importance of being united in the defense of our country. Why? Because they will have to continue the fight. I wonder what will be remembered at the end of the next 20 years, 2041. It's up to all Americans to be united with mutual respect, dignity, and commitment to make better memories for our children and grandchildren in the year 2041.
A moment of silence for the second plane striking the tower. Go ahead. Our next speaker is a resident of Elmhurst. Lori Hess Tampos, a Desert Storm and Gulf War combat veteran, served as United States Army captain in the Air Defense Artillery. Lori was the first female Grand Marshal in our Memorial Day parade. She was also among the first women to serve in combat, commanded a Patriot missile team as an artillery officer with the 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Command Unit, deployed out of Germany. Her active duty ran from May of 1989 to June of 1992, followed by service in the U.S. Army Reserves into January of 1994. Captain Tampos was also among the first of 800 women to graduate from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where she earned a Bachelor's of Science degree. As the first person from her unit and her brigade deployed to the Gulf War, then Lieutenant Tampos was tasked with the classified secret mission of setting up a Patriot missile site as part of an advance party that included 11 infantrymen assigned to secure a perimeter and protect her. Captain Tampos has served as the CEO of Avail Consulting since 2002 and as an adjunct professor in the Department of Business and Economics at Elmhurst College since 2015, after earning an MBA degree in 2013. Lori is a resident of Elmhurst for over 15 years and has volunteered her time on serving in several communities at your community high school. She is also a mentor mom for mothers of preschoolers, former PTA president, Service Academy Board member for 3 congressmen, and a guest speaker with unique experience and leadership empowering firefighters and professionals throughout the country. Lori, can you please come to the podium? Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right? All right. On the morning of 9/11/2001, I was preparing to get ready for work, and was watching the Today Show, and I had gone to turn off the TV, press the button in, and I saw that a special report came up. And I thought, oh, I continued to turn off the TV, and then I thought to myself, that's very unusual. There isn't normally a special report coming up. Let me turn the TV back on. So when I saw that the plane had gone into the World Trade Center. I sat down on the bed and I realized I loved life as we knew it. And I knew it would never be the same. And then when the second plane hit the tower, I was sure of that. I was sure that our lives would be changed forever, impacted in ways big and small, irrevocably. We can never forget. I continued on. I had 2 small girls, and I dropped them off at Montessori school, and I pulled over and didn't even make it out of the neighborhood, and pulled over and called into work and was like, I'm not coming in today. I can't. And I realized that my own mother was either in the air or on the tarmac on an airplane at O'Hare. She later made it to my home safely. I have a friend that I hadn't spoken to in over 30 years. He had gone to West Point with me. He had been in the Air Defense Artillery with me, and I hadn't spoken to him all that time. I just talked to him last week, and I said, hey, I saw that you joined the Air Force. Tell me your story. He said, Lori, on the morning of 9/11, my sister and my niece were in Manhattan, and I lost communication with them for 3 days. That impacted me greatly. So I joined the Air Force. I re-upped my service and I joined the Air Force, and he's serving today still in the Air Force. His story is not uncommon. Many people heard the call that day, re-upped their service. I have another friend who was at the Pentagon attending a meeting, and the meeting had just ended and they had all just left the room right before it impacted the Pentagon, right before that third plane impacted the Pentagon. We will never be the same. We can never sit down on our defense. We always need the help and the support of those who defend, protect, and serve this country, particularly our first responders. We have to just support them and continue to give them what they need to be able to help us, to support us, and serve us, and protect us in return. We have to stay strong and stay united to the best of our ability. That's our number one charge. That's our number one priority in this country. To protect and serve our people and our way of life. The former Port Authority for New York City William Ermoa had been one of the last people pulled out alive out of the rubble of the World Trade Center. And he said, if we can't find a light in this tragedy, no matter what the tragedy is, then it's just a tragedy. Let this not be just a tragedy. We came together then in ways that were unbelievable and miraculous, and we came together as a country. We need to come together again. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Our next speaker is known globally for her writings on leadership, refractive thinking, and failure. She has been published more than 52 times with 26 awards. As an accomplished university professor, TEDx speaker, and consultant, she is an international best-selling author and top-quoted publishing professional on ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox News. I'd like to welcome Dr. Cheryl Lentz to the podium. Thank you for being part of it.
Welcome everyone to this celebration of life. My name is Dr. Cheryl Lentz, and while you may never remember my name, and that's more than okay, I hope you will remember my words, to remember there is hope in tragedy. Love is our way forward. Time. We have today, now. Tomorrow is not a promise nor a guarantee, making today even more precious as we look as to how we choose to live to honor those who gave their lives. It is one of those things we all have, but do we know how to use it? They say that time heals all wounds. Is it a cliche for a reason, but is it true? As we come together for this 20-year anniversary of the tragedy of 9/11, the question to ask is whether we collectively and individually can and have healed in the events since 9/11. Do we ever truly heal from the effects of a broken heart? From lives never completely lived? Can we be grateful for having loved and lost than never having loved at all? We may learn in time to find a place for the tragedy. We may even learn in time to forgive, but we cannot and will never forget that fateful day. From Isaiah 49, I will not forget you. I have written your name on the palms of my hands. There are defining moments in our lives that simply become part of who we are. To forget is to deny ourselves and our memories their full measure. Our landscape as a country has been forever changed because of the events of that fateful day. We all clearly remember exactly where we were in those moments as the planes struck the building and as we watched the towers collapse before our very eyes. Matthew McConaughey doesn't believe in the word unbelievable because we saw with our very own eyes the unthinkable, the unfathomable. We know where we were when we heard the news, forever changing us on the inside and out. Fear took hold that day, shattering us to our very core in an event that no one or could ever see happening, let alone on U.S. soil. Many of us stopped that day. We held our breath and we stopped living. We stopped to attempt to process what our eyes told us we were seeing and experiencing together. Yet with the human condition, we couldn't look away. We broke from this trance to seek clarity and purpose. For those of us with loved ones in those buildings, the towers and the Pentagon, we turned to our phones in an attempt of confirmation. Where were they? When would we learn their fate? Were they okay? Were they safe? Were they there? We will never forget that day, now woven into the fabric of our country and our collective story. 9/11 joins the memorable day among any other historical defining moments that shape who we are as a country and as human beings. Many of us went to our Creator that day in search of answers, then and now. How could something so unconscionable happen to us on our watch, on this day? Today, we choose to remember. We choose to stand up and be grateful for those who gave their lives in that moment and others in history who gave that right to us. We must be careful, however. We must guard our feelings and choose wisely. Hatred is a dangerous flame that once lit burns in the hearts of many in their misguided attempts to bring us as a country to our knees. They failed. Instead of allowing tragedy to define us or allow hatred and the forces of darkness to destroy us, we instead turned our anger and tears inward into a way forward. We came together as a country in the name of love, freedom, and service to the ideals that created and forever bind this country: the love of democracy, the love of community, the tenacity of connection, and the love of freedom. Love is the path we must continue in our quest forward to heal. We fought back that day and in one voice took a stand that we would not go quietly into the night. We remained steadfast in our conviction and our courage to dig deep and love our friends and family who lost their lives this day, who still mourn the loss of those who were so violently taken from us personally and from us as a nation. We learned there is responsibility in freedom and appreciate the investment of the past. Resiliency replaced sorrow with the resolve that we would not let the enemy win by not allowing them to take the very foundation of this country, our collective souls of democracy. That foundation was severely challenged as we watched the events unfold over and over and over that day and in the days and years that followed. It has become a lesson in personal and intentional collective fortitude that we dug into the core of our being to stay in the fight, to keep showing up day after day after day, to show our resolve that the terrorists did not win and they cannot claim victory. We rose to the challenge to stand tall in strength that we are still here. We were not beaten then, nor are we now. We still believe in the sanctity of human life and the wisdom to know that while the terrorists thought they weakened a country that fateful day, they did not and they will not. We stand before you in this moment and every moment since. We stand united, not defeated, in every year that we come together in the celebration of life. We will not forget. We did not forget any of the events of history, such as the attack on Pearl Harbor in World War II. We will not give in, not on our watch. We will remain vigilant that we will always find ways to love our way forward. We still benefit from a reminder every now and then to find our strength and courage and the ability to go forward despite the tears and despite the pain that remain in our hearts and souls. We honor and celebrate the lives lost today and remind ourselves gently and gracefully. We will forever remember their sacrifice, their time in one of our history's defining moments. Love cannot be destroyed. Time remains a constant, forever encapsulating favorite memories and celebration as we come together today. We may remain with a broken heart in those we lost, but we move together forward, step by step, with purpose and intention, despite the pain that continues from this tragedy, despite the violence and the hatred that sadly remain to separate and divide us as a country. 9/11 did neither. The terrorists could not destroy a country. The terrorists showed us how strong we were to overcome. Love wins when the light shines as a beacon in the darkness. We take comfort in the words of Christopher Robin's of childhood lore. You're smarter than you believe, you're stronger than you seem, and you're smarter than you think. Amen, dear Christopher. We must continue to believe. Until we are tested, we do not truly know the depth of our resolve, our conviction, or the love we have for another. We remain before you. We have not only survived, but thrived since that day more than 20 years ago. They did not win. They will not win. They destroyed several buildings that day, taking loved ones from us. They did not, however, destroy who we are, nor what we have, nor what we continue to believe. We remain here. The Statue of Liberty stands tall in her resolve for us. We have and continue to win the day. We will dig deeper and realize we are stronger than we ever thought possible. You cannot destroy hope. You cannot destroy love. Love is the path forward. There is responsibility in freedom. There is responsibility in choice. There is responsibility in love. Love is the secret source behind our survival. Love is how we keep going when tragedy occurs. Love is something we must forever cultivate and remind ourselves that sometimes love is painful. When tragedy takes from us the lives of our family, our colleagues, and friends, we must remind ourselves love cannot be destroyed as long as we celebrate in our hearts. How we feel as a nation is what keeps us going and moving forward. Patriotism is not what you do. It is who we are as a nation to our very core. Core values remain the essence of how we survive tragedy. As part of my words today, I asked Kellyanne and Ken to join me in song and celebration in the words from the famous song by Lee Greenwood. Thank you, Kellyanne and Ken. Music is light that helps our souls to heal, to remind ourselves of wisdom and love, even from tragedy. Remember, we always have choice. We can choose to continue to hate our enemies and the events they did on our watch, or we can choose to channel our energies instead into positive outcomes, to rise from the ashes with the phoenix and learn through how to emerge from pain stronger than we ever imagined ourselves to be. We can choose love. We don't choose what happens to us, but we choose how to respond and how to continue to move forward and what we hold in our hearts. We choose what our core values are as a country, and we choose how to behave as human beings. Finally, we turn to the words of Winston Churchill. Loyal and brave to do their duty without concern for the cost under the strain of leadership. Thou art weighed in the balance. Let us not forget the fallen. Let us cherish their memories. Let us love through these dark moments as we look upon what might have been to say, I will not forget thee. As we take time to reflect in these final moments today, let us take time when we bow our heads in silence to remember not only our pain and sorrow of loss, but the lessons we've learned about ourselves and our country along the way. If we do not remember the lessons of the past, we are doomed to repeat them. Edmund Burke. Let us choose to find our way forward in love, in honor, and with courage. I wish you peace. Namaste.
At this time, we're going to do the striking of the bell. The bell holds special significance for firefighters. Historically, the tolling of a bell summoned members to the station. It signaled the beginning of a shift. It notified departments of a call for help and indicated a call was completed and a unit had returned to quarters. Departments also sounded a series of bells when a firefighter died in the line of duty to alert all members that a comrade had made the ultimate sacrifice. One of the most meaningful series of bells is commonly called the striking of 4 5s. The fire service is rich with ceremonial customs and traditions. Our customs of rendering final honors has its origins in the fire department of the city of New York, where many years ago, long before the advent of radios or pagers, fire alarms and daily announcements were dispatched from central headquarters to outlying firehouses by a system of bells, commands, and telegraph signals. Each different type of alarm or announcement would have its own number and series of bell strikes. When a firefighter died in a line of duty or when some important official or person passed away, headquarters would transmit 5 bell strikes repeated in 4 series with a slight pause between each series, followed by the announcement. This was done as long ago as 1865 in the city of New York to inform rank and file of the death of President Abraham Lincoln. The custom has continued to the present day today. And so, for those who have selflessly given their lives for the good of their fellow man, their task is completed, their duties well done. To our comrades, their last alarm, they are going home. Please be seated. Thank you to Brian Costello and the Celebration Brass Quartet for making this our program special. Very nice music. We really appreciate it. Before we close, I invite you all to take a look inside the fire station, walk around, take a look at the pictures that we have on display here, and soak it all in. Remember what happened that day. Keep it close to your heart and help one another. The beam that you see here is an actual piece of the World Trade Center. If you've been to one of our ceremonies in the past, you'll remember that it's part of the PATH system, which was the rail system that was used to remove several victims away from the towers before they crumbled. We were fortunate enough years ago to get a piece of this and bring it back to Elmhurst, where we hope to put it on display permanently in front of Station 2 here in the upcoming years. At this time, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today and showing us your support. I would like to call Reverend Curtis Baxter back to the podium for the benediction. Thank you. Thank you again.
May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace both now and forevermore. Amen.